Good evening, everyone. Let's welcome you once again to Elombah Television. We have our guest, Chief George Moghalu, APC Governorship Aspirant for Anambra State. Chief Moghalu, you are welcome to our program.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate you.
Are you able to tell us briefly about yourself?
All right. Let me begin first. Like I said earlier, I apologize for not being available yesterday. And then for you being gracious enough to accommodate my inability to attend yesterday and my desire to be quick today. Like you started, my name is Chief George Moghalu. George Moghalu was born on the 10th of December 1962. I attended my primary school in a place in Aba called Sancta Maria then, but later changed to Constitution Crescent Primary School. Later, I went to High School in Aba, made a Division 1. From there, I proceeded to IMT Enugu and graduated with an upper credit. In fact, applied arts, came out, set up, joined my family business. From there, I set up my own business and then continued. I've been quite around by the grace of God. Let me take my public and private sector services together. I was a Director General of Cooperatives and Rural Development in Abia State and later became Permanent Secretary, Minister of Information and Culture. While I was in Abia State, I chaired the Committee for the Development of New Towns, including Umuahia Capital City. I was chairman. I also was a member of the committee to secure ADB loan for Abia State, apart from other subcommittees that I served as a member of the Abia State Executive Council. When the military came, we left office. I was appointed by the civilian administration thereafter as chairman of the board of directors of Abia State Housing and Property Development Corporation. I chaired their board. And then, was it in 2017, the president graciously appointed me chairman board of directors of the Nigeria Communications Satellite Company Limited, NACOMSAT. While I was in NACOMSAT, after 2 years, the president also graciously again, based on the recommendation of my ministers, appointed me the managing director, chief executive officer of the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, a position I'm still occupying as a date. Taking the political perspective, by 1991, I was elected the first state publicity secretary in the old Imo State before states were created of the National Republican Convention and NRC. And then by 1998, when we formed APP, I was elected the first national secretary of APP in 1999. And by 2002, following the joining of UNPP with APP then, we changed the name to ANPP. And in 2003, at the end of my tenure as national secretary, I was elected the gubernatorial candidate of ANPP for Anambra State and contested that election. In 2007, I was elected the national vice chairman of ANPP for Southeast and served in the executive committee of the party. I was also a member of the national caucus of the party. So when there was a desire amongst us, ACN and CPC, to form a merger that will enable us face PDP, committees were set up. I became member secretary of the 18-member ANPP committee that now met with the committee set up by ACN and CPC and the faction of APGA that was led by Rochas Okorocha. Then we now formed the Central Merger Committee, of which I was the coordinating secretary of the Central Merger Committee. At the end, APC was put in place. And following the first national convention in 2014, I was elected the first national auditor of APC and was re-elected the national auditor again after the completion of my first term. I've also had the privilege of serving on the board of Daily Times PLC as a director, and then a few other companies. But in the private sector, I founded and ran an organization called Crystal Functions Limited, a registered advertising agency, registered by Association of Advertising Practitioners of Nigeria, APCON.
All right, sir. Well, you have a very long resume we can see. Now, the Anambra and diaspora sponsoring this program doesn't need to be just a talk show. They want to see if there is any candidate they will rally around that emerges. Now, the question is, why should it be you?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I have I've engaged with a lot of diaspora groups, as USA, Anambra Association, quite a lot of them, and we have discussed the issue of Anambra, where we are, where we should be, and where we want to be. The basic thing that separates me from most of the aspirants, like I've always said, is that the election of 2021, November 6th, will be very, very competitive. And every party is making effort to come to that election with their first 11, their best. And in coming to that election, I said something very instinctive during the course of one of my tours. I said that the election of 2021 will not be won by a party. Rather, it will be won by a consensus of the political elite across party lines. And that for us to choose a candidate as a party, we have to choose a candidate that has the capacity to generate that confidence. And for you to generate that confidence, a few things stand people out. That is integrity, that is character, that is consistency, that is ability to deliver, and most importantly, also experience. And if you take through these four trajectories that I mentioned, I stand tall amongst all aspirants, particularly in the aspect of consistency of character. I should be, if not the only, I must be among the very few politicians in Anambra State who have not decamped or changed any political party from 1999 to date. That goes a long way to speak about who I am in the proper sense of the word. And I've gathered the reasonable experience, both in the private sector and the public sector, that gives me or places me in a vantage position to be able to meet up with the needs of Anambra State, especially at this critical time. So basically, that's why I think it should be me.
So if you become the governor of Anambra State, what is the first project you will devote yourself to ingrain yourself in the minds of the Anambra?
The first project, like people will be surprised that I will not mention infrastructure. Excuse me. People will actually be surprised that I will not mention infrastructure. But the first thing that requires urgent attention is the fact there is a loss of confidence between the governed and the government today in Anambra State. So my first effort will be to restore the confidence of the people in their government. And you can only do that by coming out with all sincerity of purpose, presenting the issues as they are, as honest as they are, and providing solutions. Then so that you can win back the confidence of the people so they can be part of your government. That is the first thing I will strive to do. Thereafter, issues of infrastructure, looking at our educational curriculum, and a few other issues can now take second place.
How will you build this confidence between you?
Yes.
How will you build this confidence?
Yes, to build this confidence is about who you are. It's about the ability to speak truth to power. It's your ability to be honest. It's your ability to say what the truth is, what the situation is, reporting it as honest as possible so that people can assess your transparency and be able to key into it. And once that is done, you win back their confidence so that you can be able to gain their support, both in terms of paying their taxes, both in terms of giving you support, both in terms of encouraging you. So once that is done, then I'll be on a better platform now to talk about moving, excuse me, project development and then building up the economy.
Okay, what do you think about, do you think we need this? I'm sure you've been to London, sir.
Yes, very well.
There is this project called M25. It is a road network that runs around London.
Yes.
Do you think Anambra needs it? Something like that?
Anambra needs it, yes. Anambra needs very strong road infrastructure because you see, excuse me, I'm sure you know this. What the average Anambra man needs is for government to create the enabling environment for the people to thrive. The Anambra man is so independent-minded. The Anambra man is so determined. The Anambra man is ready to make sacrifices. But what they need is for government to create the enabling environment. And I see providing basic infrastructure as one of the key ways that you will create the enabling environment for industry to grow and for the people to thrive. So I think we need it. Why not?
All right, I will take one question from the audience. Maji HTML, prepare your question. Let me just ask one more and then you ask it and then I'll get it. I mean, so it decides whether he will finally leave or not. All right, sir. Do you know the current IGR of Anambra State? The quantum?
It fluctuates.
Is it appreciable? Is it enough? Or what could be done to improve it if it fluctuates? Or
a lot can be done to improve the IGR of a society, particularly a state like Anambra State that has the great potentials. You can generate enough, you can improve on it. But the point is that you have to win the confidence of the people by judiciously utilizing what you are getting, by giving them value for their money. Then they will now be in a position to encourage you, to support you by now being able to pay their taxes. And if you must know, today, 90 of, let's say 80% of the taxes that are paid today are paid by those in public service. Because there is no data. The statistics is lacking. Why would you want somebody in Nkwannewi to pay you tax? Have you gone there to see how dilapidated the state of the roads are? Are there basic infrastructure? Are there fire service stations? Are there proper drainages that will make people want to be willing to pay you money? Go to an HMO market. Is it the way it should be? So why do you expect people in that condition to pay you money? Why do you expect people in that condition to be appreciative of what government is doing? And again, you need to bring in technology, not getting people on the street to start breaking people's windscreen. That is not the way to generate money. Because in that form, 60 to 70% of what you generate filter into people's pockets.
All right. Okay. Mazi HTMOK, just one question, please.
Yes, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Chief Moghalu.
Thank you, Mazi.
You have a bit more time to spend with us because 10 minutes is a bit too short, and we don't really want to, rush through our questions, and you rushing off. And you're going to promise us that you have to come back and settle down and talk to us so that we can have a feel of who you are and what you can do.
Mazi, I don't even mind making a promise of coming back. I don't mind. To be honest with you,
you have to come back. Yes. And speak to us properly. So my question is, how would you go about, getting people involved, like you said, initially, getting people involved in politics, getting people to take interest in politics, in what affects them? How would you go about that in concrete terms? What are you going to do? What kind of structures are you going to put in place for that to happen?
The basic thing you need to do in this regard is to raise the consciousness of the society.
How would you do that?
You can raise it through your educational policies. You can raise it by getting people involved, by getting all the structures of government, and you can also get it by getting the local government system to work.
Yeah.
You have to get the local government system to work because it is created to work. And when it works, government will not get down to the people. It is not only all those of us who are long time that should participate in government. The people in the local environment have to participate because you are talking about their welfare and their destiny. And if they have entrusted it into your hands, you'll be able to manage it enough to the extent that they will feel very comfortable. You see, let me tell you, those who design democracy design it in such a manner that after a period of time, 4 years in office, you come back and present your report card for assessment. That is essentially why you have to come back for a second time. So when you present your report card, they will not lay it side by side the promises you have made. They will not lay it side by side with the plans you have laid. They will not lay it side by side with what the future holds for them. The still hands must be drummed into our people that when you're given an opportunity to serve, it is accountable. It is something you are going to account for. It is not about you now, it's about the destiny of the people you are supposed to manage. If the local government system is working, a lot of people will be more involved in their system. Then you now look at our educational curricula. It is faulty. I have said it even before I started running for governor. There's something drastic has to be done. We must go back to the drawing table. We must look at our educational curricula. We must de-emphasize educational certification.
Are you going to tell us now?
So when you communicate with the people, you get them involved.
Are you going to be able to Are you going to be able to tell us now if you're going to hold local government election in your first year in office?
I'm going to do it in my first 1 year.
Yes. Are you going to be able to? Are you going to be able to promise? Okay.
I will sign it. If you bring paper, I'll sign it for you.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief Judge Moghalu. I think you can see that this is this will have been a very interesting discussion that often lasts for 90 minutes or 120 minutes. That's the minimum will not, because it's always as you warm up to it, it's very, very interesting. But